Rule number 26. Decide your attitude to risk. Am I going to suggest that money can only be hard-won by perilous investment and chancy ventures? No, I'm not. In that case, am I suggesting caution then that you should carefully hang on to every penny? No, I'm not advocating that either. What I'm suggesting is that it's entirely up to you what level of risk you feel happy with. It's no good me telling you what that level should be. You have to decide your own attitude to and appetite for risk. Personally, I love the idea of sailing close to the wind financially. However, my attitude is definitely vergent on the caution side, so I don't take that risk, and I find the risky scheme where you could blow a lot or make a fortune hold some appeal, but I don't indulge my whims. I have young children and they come first. Once you have decided your attitude to risk, it makes your planning easier. It allows you to tailor how you intend becoming prosperous. Here are tortoise, I guess. Obviously, your attitude will vary depending on the project. Things to take into consideration are your age. We cope better with the risks the younger we are. Family commitment. If, like me, you have the young children, it does make you more cautious. If they have all left home, you might be prepared to push it a bit further. Income and or assets. You need to work out a percentage of your wealth you are prepared to risk. The more you have got, the smaller the risk might be, unless you are prepared to risk a lot, of course. If you are going to take a risk, then do try to offset them. Take out insurance if you like. Also, don't pull all your eggs in one basket. More about this later. Consider how much stress and excitement you can handle. Look at the timing, long term against quick return, and think about how much you can afford to risk worst case scenario stuff. Judge how much information you have. Too little increases risk. The other thing to ponder is how you respond to the risks of life. Life in itself is risky and nothing is certain. How do you cope when things go wrong? Are you positive, dynamic, enthusiastic, and up? Or do you get all gloomy and depressed and feel the glass is half empty? Know yourself and know how you cope and how you respond to change. And remember that risk does not mean bad. It means you don't know how it will all turn out. Rule number 27. Think through the alternatives to taking a risk. We all know that the greater the risk, the higher the potential reward. And of course, the lower the risk, the less return you are likely to get on your investment. But you also need to consider what your alternative is. What if you don't take the risk? Is there an alternative that gives you almost as high a return, or will the money bring you in almost nothing if you don't like the risk? Let me give you an example. Suppose you are considering investing in a volatile market for a change of high return. If you don't make the investment, you could put the money in the building society where it ought to be safe. I did say ought to. So what kind of interest is the building society paying you? It could be 3%, then again it could be 0.5%. If it's fairly high, your high-risk investment may not be worth taking, whereas when interest rates are very low, it might be your best chance of a decent return. This concept, the overall reward you get for taking a risk when measured against the alternative, is called risk premium. Just forget that bit if you don't like the jargon. I only put it there in case you want to know. It's a calculation particularly worth making when it comes to short-term investment, as over the long term it can be harder to predict how the alternative to risk will perform. Look back to late 2007, then savers could get interest rate of over 6%. At the same time, the equity market share prices were falling, so there was no reward or premium for taking the risk of investing in equities. And however, once interest rate dropped, the balance shifted, and equities look like a far better option than they had. And that has nothing to do with the investment themselves, but simply how they measure up against the alternative. You need to consider what your alternative is and what if you don't take the risk. Rule number 28. If you don't trust someone, don't do business with them. It's such a simple rule. We don't do business with people we don't trust. What more is there to say? Apart from that this also includes companies, corporation, government, you name it. And why don't we trust them? Because there is something at risk, something that rings the little warning bell inside us. There may be clear visible sign, but as often as not there it won't be. Mostly this rule is about using your intuition, listening to your inner voice. If you feel anything is wrong, then walk away. Listen to what is being said to you. There are unconscious clues your subconscious is picking up. If you ignore them, you will invariably regret it. I have done it. We have all done it. I nearly did it again the other day. I nearly bought a car from a dodgy dealer. I knew he was dodgy, but I wanted the car. I knew the car would be dodgy. What is it that makes us override all the warning signs? I did the only sensible thing. I phoned a friend and he talked me out of it. Good man. You can extend this rule to cover lots of situations, such as if you don't trust your boss, don't work for them. If you don't trust your child minder, don't leave your kids with them. If you don't feel comfortable with your financial advisor, get another. Look, you can choose what you do and how you do it, but if you want to be a rules player, then you need to be assertive. Stand up for what you know is right. Don't accept second best ever, and listen to your intuition. Be the biggest, boldest, and bravest. If the situation feels wrong, it probably is. If don't get the right feelings about a person you are dealing with, find a way out. If it waddles like a dog and quack like a dog, change or it's a dog. Avoid, walk away, hold on to your wallet and run. Listen to your intuition, be the biggest, boldest, and the bravest. Rule number 29 is never too late to start getting wealthy. It's a very easy. Sometimes to believe that the hand we got dealt in life is all we have to play with, or to say, oh well, I should have started a pension in my early 20s. It's too late now, but we can change anything we want. It's never too late to start being wealthy. Look at rule number 1 again. Anyone can make money, and it's not limited by your age or any other time factor. All it requires is that you shift your focus to becoming wealthy, and already things will happen without you having to do anything more. Obviously, if you want more than the basic that the universe is going to give you, you will have to do more. But by shifting your focus, you will set will in motion and prosperity will come to you. And no, this is not mumbo jumbo, it's a universal fact. The fact you do something, shift your focus is enough. No matter how long you have been going along a particular path, poverty, lack of success, whatever, it doesn't need much of the shift to alter course. An altering course can happen no matter how long you have left it. There is no such a thing as too late. It's a bit like being an ocean going in liner. You may need a lot of space to stop, but it does not take much to get you to change direction. A couple of degrees on the wheel and you will be on a completely different course within a few miles. In gaining prosperity, as in most things, there is a tipping point. Once you have aided on those couple of degrees to port or starboard, the resulting change in trajectory gets bigger and bigger in a sort of compound way. It is also never too late to start investing in stock, in shares, in pensions, in style, in quality, in yourself, in life. By staying alert and alive, we resist that decline into inactivity and apathy, which is such an aging attitude. My father-in-law was such an inspiration. Started another business when he was 75. And not just any old business either. It was in a new technology which most 50 years old were having trouble getting their head around. It is never too late to start investing in shares, in pension, in style, in quality, in yourself, in life. However, if you think it is too late, it probably is. The secret is never to think that. If you think that you can give up easily, then you probably will. Don't think it. Look, we came into this book together to make money, some for you and some for me. I'm going to do my bit, my damnedest, and I'll have you increase your prosperity. If you think there are any barriers, age, sex, race, ability, then you are already betting on a losing wicket. Dump the preconception and trust me, it is never too late to begin. Start now. Rule number 30. Start saving young. Or teach your kids this one if it's too late for you. Okay, it might be too late for you to start saving young. We can't go back. But you can certainly teach your kid the importance of learning this trick. And I'm not suggesting we scream and save to be able to save. Saving should be something we naturally do. I guess it's a trick you learn quickly if you are self-employed, or not if you go bust. Every time you earn money, you put some aside for a fat and tax, and failure to do so means scrabbling around when the return is due and you have to find it. If you put aside more than you need, the leftovers become the saving. Obviously, you only fail to do this once or twice before it becomes a really easy thing to remember to do. If you put aside more than you need, the leftovers become the saving. I found that it is easier to have a figure so you don't have to think too much. My own figure is 50%. Anything I earn, I put half straight into a saving account. I don't have to think about this. I know that some is for tax and some is for fat and the rest of is for saving. Every now and again I transfer the balance of what's left to a second saving account. A sort of super saving account. From the super saving account, I can transfer money to a pension fund, ISA, individual saving account, or whatever. This for me is an easy way to save. I don't have to think too much about it. It is a method I pass on to my children. Spend half your pocket money and save half. I hope they will find this an easy method to pick up a sort of saving muscle memory so that they will have a quid or two when they need it at university or whatever. I really wish I had A started saving young and a B been taught to do so. Lots of really prosperous people have said that they had well managed drum into them from a very early age. It seems to be an essential part of prosperity gaining. I am fascinated to watch my own children learning about money. There just seems to be a genetic predisposition for spending or saving. We treat all of them identically when it comes to money, but one child finds it easy to save, another is fantastic spender and couldn't save anymore, anything to save himself, and one is oblivious to money. Either way, I'm a great believer in making changes to correct basic flaw in one's upbringing. It's no good sitting around blaming others. You have to change it. I have to take responsibility and train myself. Obviously, this does not apply to being tidy. Rule number 31. Understand that your financial needs change at different stages of your life. Some cultures allow you for a different focus, a different strategy during different stages of your life. For instance, up to 20 might be for being young and foolish and getting an education. Age 20 to 35 could be for getting married and raising a family. Age 35 to 55 might be for running your business and making a fortune. Life after that is for spiritual contemplation and retirement from the commercial world. Essentially, your financial needs change over time, reflecting what is going on in your life at any stage and the choices you make in your lifestyle at the time. You might need more money when raising a family, but maybe this is a time when you can usually cope better with a little adversity. By the time your kids are at university, you definitely need loads more cash, or the poor darlings won't have enough to squander in the student union bar in the evening, every evening. And once you hit retirement, you can downsize again, unless you intend spending it all on expensive world cruises. And this rule is about checking where you are and what you need, and about knowing that the condition which influence your needs and do and will change. You have to make allowance for differing circumstances. A bit of forward planning with this in mind will stand you in a good state. For example, if you are about to invest all your spare cash in a long-term investment scheme, remember that if you suddenly need a bit more money as you have taken a maternity leave, or you want to go on a world trip in a career break, your money will be tied up. Think it through and anticipate possible future needs and changes. So, quick exercise. Where are you in your life? How you doing it? What is the next stage for you, and how much are you going to need? Allow for a different focus, a different strategy during different. Rule number 32. You have to work hard to get rich enough not to have to work hard. I cannot emphasize how strongly I feel about this one. I watch and learn from the seriously wealthy and have reached the conclusion that in nearly every single case they slog their guts out to get where they are. They often started early, they worked late into the night, they sacrificed a lot, and they didn't take a long lunch breaks. They didn't waste time. They didn't watch television in the evening. They worked their sock off, and they know money does not grow on trees. If you two are serious about getting rich, then you two must do as they do. You are going to have to put in the hard work to get rich enough so that you don't have to work hard, but you must do the work first. So, how dedicated are you? How serious are you? And this is the point where we sort the wheat from the chaff, the men from the boys, the girls from the women, and the runner-ups from the winners. Still here? Good. You are obviously committed. If you are prepared to put in the long hours and you put them in the right thing, you should succeed. Maybe not immediately, maybe not with your first idea, but by slugging away you will get there. How do I know this? Because I have done it. I'm not preaching from the wilderness. I started out poor and worked long and hard and chose where to put my efforts carefully. And I am rich. It really isn't that simple. On the surface it looks like a slog, but that's because I make it look so. In the rules of work I wrote about looking cool, looking laid back, looking effortless. I practice that a lot and I often go back to work very late at night after everyone else has gone to bed or get up very early in the morning. Don't tell anyone because I like the indolent image where everyone assumes I am a work-shy, lotus-eating, decadent loafer, but the reality is I graft. You have to. I will let you into the secret of the wealthy club. You need to work like you have never worked before. Work like there is no one watching. Work like you don't have a boss. Work like your life depended on it. The second secret is that you have to enjoy it. If it's a chore, then you won't do it. Let me make one very important point here. This rule does not mean that if you work hard at anything you will become wealthy. An office cleaner on the minimum wage will not become rich by working all hours as an office cleaner or by cleaning really hard and thoroughly, and they might however become rich by starting their own cleaning company and working very hard at getting it off the ground and finding new clients and making sure their staff are great, happy, and motivated. What I'm saying here is that even if you have got a great business idea or have some money to invest in shares, you will only maximize your return if you work really hard at your idea or invest the money wisely and manage it carefully. You have to put the effort in before you can reap the dividends. Rule number 33. Learn the art of the deal making. Deals are great. Deals make you money. Simple deal-making skill will serve you time and time again, and you need to learn to be bold, to ask for more, to trade what you have for what you want. Here is an example of successful deal-making in action. Kylie McDonald from Montreal, Canada, traded his way from one single red paper clip to a house in the space of 9 months, and you can read more at http://oneredpaperclip.blogspot.com, but essentially this is how he did it. He launched his website offering to swap his one red paper clip for anything. He swapped it for a green pan in the shape of a fish. He swapped this for a smiley face doorknob. He swapped this for a portable barbecue. He swapped this for a portable generator. He swapped this for an instant party pack and keg of beer. He swapped this for a snowmobile. He swapped this for a trip to British Columbia. He swapped this for a truck. He swapped this for a recording contract. And finally, he swapped this for a house in Phoenix, Colorado. Admittedly only a year's lease, but they 11 steps, 11 little deals, not bad. He says he's going to keep going until he owns a house, and that's still making. So, lesson to be learned from Kylie. Never say you haven't got anything to start with. Always be open to opportunities, be adaptable and flexible, have a goal, work diligently, network like a mad, take advantage of free publicity. In my business, I prefer to talk about mutually profitable partnerships. These deals where both parties benefit are the best deals of all. Everybody feels happy with the outcome. Why do you have the others that others might want? Think broadly here, not just possessions like Kylie, but also your skills and your knowledge, your time and your ability and efforts. Who might want this and what might you be able to ask for in return? What do you have that others might want? Rule number 34. Learn the art of negotiating. If you are going to deal and trade and swap, you have to learn the art of negotiating. Basically, the art revolves around making the other person feel they are getting as much as you are. I like to talk about partnerships. This is my way of making this happen, and I'm genuinely not out of scope or anyone else's plans of getting rich. I don't need them to fail in order to make me succeed. I figure we can all go forward together and no one has to lose out. If I want someone to buy something from me, I expect them to be able to make a profit on it and do well out of it. I don't want to sell and run. I want to repeat business. I want a decent reputation. I want to feel good about what I do. I want a partnership. The art of negotiating will stand you in a good stead in so many different situations, from negotiating a simple pay rise to negotiating in your relationship with your partner to negotiating with your kids over pocket money. If you learn this art, everything slips along easily and smoothly, and you get what you want, and they get what they want too. Win-win solution. There are a number of rules about negotiating you need to bear in mind, and here are just a few of the most important ones. Always know your bottom line, the point beyond which you will not go. Always know what it is you want, the goal, the end product, the target. There is no use negotiating if you don't know what you are negotiating for. And always aim for a win-win solution. Always be prepared to give up things to secure other things and be flexible and fluid. Always know as much as possible before you start. Knowledge is a power in this situation. Go for the best deal you can possibly justify. Coming down later is easy, going up later is almost impossible. These are just a few of the key points. But if you don't know this topic, buy a book, go on a course, talk to friends who really understand the skill of negotiating. And I'm always stunned and horrified by how often people go into situation, anything from a job to relationship, without first finding out what they are embarking on, what is expected of them, what they are going to get out of it, and what they expect their partner, like boss, business buddy, lover, offspring, whoever, to get out of it, and where they expect to end up. You have got to discuss these things, and that really is the basic art discussion. Bring things out into the open so that are no assumptions, and assumptions are bad. I don't want to sell and rant. I want a repeat business. I want a decent reputation. Rule number 35. Small economies won't make you wealthy, but they will make you miserable. Is it penny wise? Pound foolish? I don't think so. I think that trying to make small economies in order to become prosperous is doomed to failure. It won't make you rich, but it will make you miserable. And being miserable is not a good place to start out each day. You need a decent breakfast and a positive attitude. Cutting out your daily cappuccino might help you lose weight, and it might reduce your caffeine intake. But it is not going to make you rich, and it will make you feel miserable. So what about all that penny pinching stuff? It seems to have been invented by the Puritans. If you enjoy something, it has to be wrong. Some people get satisfaction out of being frugal, but if that is not you, then don't deny yourself small pleasures in the belief that that's the way to wealth. Cutting out your daily cappuccino is not going to make you rich. Hang on tough. Didn't I say in an earlier rule that the rich are eagle-eyed and that you have to stop money leaks? Indeed, but that's different. While getting your finances in order is a good thing, going without is not. Make sure you are not giving money away by being careless, but don't deny yourself the very small pleasure that enrich your life. Just don't go mad. If you can't afford what you want, buy less, but buy quality. Save up by all means for those big purchases or as if you really need them, but don't start thinking that giving up little luxuries, little threats, little life enhancers will somehow increase your wealth. It won't. It will keep you trapped in the poverty cycle. Escaping from the poverty cycle and the penury mindset is your key to success, your path to prosperity. Wealthy people don't scream and save. Sure, some of them are quite tight-fisted, and you will have to crowbar their wallet off them. But while they watch their money carefully, they don't cut the old coffee or buy cheap jam in the hope it will make them more wealthy. It obviously won't. Like being on a diet, if you deny yourself every small pleasure, you will probably fail. Little indulgence says are the way forward, and now who else is going to tell you that? Rule number 36. Real wealth comes from deals, not fees. I'm not saying that it's impossible to become wealthy working for someone else, because it can happen. And of course, you have to define wealth as we saw in rule number 2. It may be that you have no ambition to rival Bill Gates in the wealth stakes, but would be happy with a mortgage-free house, a couple of luxury holidays a year, and a good lump sum set aside for emergency or to pass on to the kids. In that case, selling your time, which is what you are effectively doing as an employee or a freelancer, may make you wealthy if you are sought after enough. Look at the professional classes. They are a good example of what I mean. Lawyers and top doctors and successful financial advisors and so on. They all have extremely comfortable lives that many of us would aspire to, but they are none of them in the super rich league, not unless they have either inherited their money or they are doing something else on the side. To make a real big serious money, you have to do deals, buy and sell. I was not kidding when I told you in the Rune Platinum Tree to learn the art of deal making, because that's the only way to make a million. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. They are none of them employees and or even freelancers. They are all selling stuff: computers, aeroplanes, seats, banking services, cars, newspaper. And oh, hang on, don't check in the day job just yet. I'm not saying you can work for someone else, at least for now. But recognize that if your ambition is to make a fortune, you are going to have to leave the job eventually and strike out. Maybe you can will and deal on the side and leave the job when you no longer need it, or maybe you need a plan for setting up on your own. However you choose to play it, sooner or later you will have to start buying and selling if you are going to become a millionaire. You will have to start buying and selling if you are going to become millionaire. Rule number 37. Understand that working for others won't necessarily make you rich, but it might. Most of us assume that we will never make it to greater prosperity while we are working for someone else, and that only by being entrepreneurial we become wealthy, and for a lot of us this may well be true. There is a limit as to how much you can earn per hour in return for your labor. However, there are some who do make it good this way. We shouldn't overlook the fact that being employed may be the best route for us, and that we don't have to run our own business, and there are whole categories of employees that are doing quite nicely, thank you. For example, a friend of mine works in corporate insurance, and he is extremely wealthy thanks to large commission payment, and he says he wouldn't be any better off working for himself. Many people working in the computer business opted to become contractors because they assumed they would earn a lot more. Some did, but at the cost of stability. When the contract dried up, so some were worse off than when employed. But for some, this was indeed the best way to go, and they have made up some handsome sums by becoming self-employed. I guess you have to keep an open mind about this one and not be driven by assumption. You can make yourself pretty unhappy by forcing yourself into self-employment if this is not right way for you. Perhaps the stability of employment is a greater priority, and you should stick with it and not feel compelled to start your own business. The converse is true as well. Understand that working for yourself might make you rich, but it might not. Nearly two-thirds of business start up and in a failure within 3 years. Look around you and you will see many examples of the small business owners struggling desperately. There is no certainty there. Working for yourself generally has higher earning potential, but not in every case. You have to look into it very closely. Right business, right demand for your services, right time, enough effort, and so on. There is not the space or time here to go into all the pros and cons of working for yourself, except to say it's one hell of a lot easier and much more fun working hard for yourself than for someone else. But what we are aiming for is not freedom from employment, but prosperity. Hence, we have to be open to whichever means will hasten our achievement of that goal, employment or going it alone. It entirely depends on which one will get us rich, easiest, fastest, slickest, and Your day job does not have to be your route to wealth at all. The secret is not to close your mind to any opportunity to get rich, and stay employed does not mean not having a little eBay business on the side or buy to let property to create a new income stream. Perhaps the stability of employment is a greater priority and you should stick with it. Rule number 38. Don't waste time procrastinating. Make money decisions quickly. If you are out of sea and it cuts abroad, you make it for a safe harbor. Any port in a storm, you don't spend time procrastinating over whether the harbor has shower facilities or a branch of your favorite restaurant chain or a cheaper moorings. No, you just get the hell out of that storm while there is still space in the harbor, and be grateful it provides the one thing you really need: safety. Making money is a bit like that. Sometimes you just need to act. As long as you get some return on your action, it's better than doing nothing. This is not complicated, but you would be amazed how many people overlook this and think, I will decide how to invest that little lump sum I have saved up later, and I can't decide whether to buy shares or put it in a saving account. So they do nothing, and the money sits in a current account earning no interest, or worse still, gets frittered away by default and inflation. You don't have to think too deeply about this stuff. You don't have to think too hard. You don't even have to really think at all. The samurai lived by a simple creed: no hesitation, no doubt, no surprise, no fear. It is simply the most brilliant strategy for doing anything. It basically says that once you have decided on a course of action, or battle or combat, then be committed. Know everything you need to know about it. Don't be afraid and get on with it as quickly as possible. If you have ever seen a samurai sword fight, you will notice they circle each other, and then there is a dramatic burst of activity, a flurry of intense violence, and it's all over. One or other, or frequently both opponents, are dead. The circling is not preparation. That was done over years and years of training. The circling is swooshing at your opponent, taking their mind. When they go into attack, it is a direct, swift, no hesitation attack, and your financial plans must have the same razor-sharp incisiveness about them. Doing something is invariably better than doing nothing, even if it's a firm decision to stay put, and sometimes acting fast can be a lot better than holding out on a possibility. Suppose you buy and sell antique and collectibles as a money-spinning hobby. If you buy a plate for £10 sterling and think you can sell it for £30 sterling, but someday somebody offer you £20 sterling within an hour, then you take the £20 sterling and go and buy two more plates at £10 sterling to sell on it the same way. I'm not saying you should act blindly, far from it. Like the samurai, we are all talking about stuff you already know. Now, you have to act on it and make your decision wise and sensible and considered and thoughtful. But make it now. Quickly weigh up the odds, consider the pros and cons, and then get on with it. Rule number 39. Work as if you didn't need the money. Most of us work because we do need the money, of course, but some of us let it show and some of us don't. If somebody looks as though they don't need the money, it's for one of two reasons. Either A, they put on a good act, or B, they genuinely enjoy their work and do it because they love it. They would do it even if they didn't need the money. Clearly, B is a fantastic place to be and one we should all strive to get it. But even if that's not the case for you yet, there is a very good reason to act as if you would work, irrespective of the financial return. If people think or indeed know that you need the money, it gives them power over you, and that puts you in a very vulnerable position. It makes you insecure. If you work as if you don't need the money, they have no power and you have it instead. Yeah, if people think that you need the money, it gives them the power over you, and that makes you insecure. Many years ago, I worked in a job that I hated and I was unhappy, and later on I started a business that my heart was not really in, and it failed. But I have always written. Am I a writer? Not really. I don't write highbrow fiction. I wish I could, but I know my limitation and stick to writing about what I see other people doing, but writing is something I have always done, whether I get paid or for it or not, whether it gets published or not, and that's my secret. I do it because I passionately care about it. It is my heart and soul and belief and drive and ambition. It is so much a part of me that no one can touch it or have power over it or take it away. Do you know how happy that makes me? Do you know how rich that is making me? Do you know how much power that gives me? So, what's your secret? What makes your heart turn cartwheels? And where does your dream lie? You have got to be driven. Being prosperous has no room for I don't know or I'm not sure. You have got to know, you have got to be sure. Why? Because that is what wealthy people do. They know where they are going and what they are going to do when they get there. They have patience and drive and ambition and determination. They work because they want to. But I hear you say the patience and determination is something they are born with. It's in their personality. Perhaps it is, but it's also something you can emulate, copy, mirror, and do like them to become like them. Work as if you didn't need the money. Aim for the point where you don't do anything unless your heart is in it. I feel even if you are following your dream, there will be moments, days when you have had enough and you are sick of everything. We are talking about what you overall enjoy, on the whole find pleasurable, and mostly glory in it. Rule number 40, spend less than you earn. Yeah, this is a general situation. I'm amazed how many people float this simple but most golden of all golden rules. You have to live within your means. Control your spending, allow yourself to create a little bit of saving with which to generate more income. And this rule does not contradict Rule 35 about small economies not making you rich. By the way, you should live within your means, but live well enough to be happy. If you don't earn enough to have champagne every week, then have it only once a month. But do have it if it makes you happy. This is about being informed and in control. You need to know what your income is and what your outgoings are. We will talk later about how to curb spending and make saving, and how to cut up your credit cards if they have let you down. And they do that sometimes, evil little things. You also need to know any expenditure that is likely to come up, any provision you have made for contingency plans, any future income you may be entitled to in the way of interest or investment coming to fruition. And that really is about it. Where people go wrong is not whether they earn enough or spend enough much. Both of those are fairly easy to overcome. No, the biggest mistake is not knowing what you are doing, where you are financially, and what is up ahead. I know it can be tough to live within your means, but if you are constantly in debt, then all the prosperity that is rightfully yours is going to some faceless bank. I bet they are enjoying spending it. I bet they are having champagne more than once a week. Why encourage them? I want you to know to have the very week and very hours what you earn, and I want you to monitor what you spend, what it costs you to live, and where you waste money, where you save money, and where you spend money wisely. As long as more is coming in that is going out, you are getting the basic right. If more is going out than coming in, you need to take swift and effective action to redress the situation. The biggest mistake is not knowing what you are doing, where you are financially, and what is up ahead. Rule number 41, don't borrow money unless you really have to. This is so important that I will repeat it. Just don't borrow money unless you really have to, and even then don't. Not unless you are borrowing of someone who is lending it interest-free, no string, no secured against your house, no potential for messing up friendship, and that sounds like a cultural land. There is no such a thing as a free money or free lunch. If someone lends it, they will want it back. Plus, and that plus is what kills most of us, stop us from becoming prosperous. It has to be nipped in the bud, and if it's too late for that, then it needs to be severely pruned. We have to get rid of that plus. The plus is usually financial, and this is what usually cripples people. However, the plus can be emotional. Also, if you borrow from friends and family, it can cause all kind of other complication. It's never ever simple. If someone lends it, they will want it back. plus. Pay off your loans and debt before you do anything else. It's the only way to get rid of the plus. I know. Lots of people borrow money to start their own business and then go on to make million. And what I'm talking about, we all have to borrow, don't we? Do we? I have a friend who started his own business with the 3 friends, and they all put in 500 pounds sterling and ran the business for 50 years. Then they sold it for 43 million pounds sterling, and yet and not a penny borrowed. The upshot was a very hard to share with no one, and at times like this, you don't want to share, no matter what your parents said about how we all should learn to share. I have another friend who borrowed heavily to launch his business, which he successfully sold for 8 million pounds sterling, but nearly every penny of that went into loan repayment and interest. He was left with a very little, and having not learned his lesson, proceeded to start another business with a capital raised by money loaned from the city. But he says he has learned a lot, because this time he has only borrowed 3 million pounds sterling. Ho ho. Yeah, when you are starting a business, advisor often say it's okay to borrow of people you know because they are willing to support you at the juncture. But the novelist Jilly Cooper says she's a very wary of lending money to friends, as it is terribly difficult to see someone at Christmas and give them a hug, knowing they owe you 10,000 pounds sterling. Yeah, personally, I would find it hard to hug someone who owed me a lot less than that. Try not to borrow from your parents, your children, other people's children, friends, lovers, passing strangers, loan sharks, the city, the bank, credit card company, offshore investment, bankers, of any sort, and me, of course. Rule number 42. Consider consolidating debts. Obviously, the best advice is don't get into debt in the first place. If it's a bit late for the nugget of wisdom, then you need to pay a little interest as you can while you are paying off your debts. Consolidating debt is one way of doing this that might be right for you. What I'm talking about here is stopping using 3 or 4 credit cards plus an overdraft plus a bank and loan plus other borrowing. It's possible to consolidate all of them into one loan, tear up the cards, and pay off the overdraft. And yes, I do understand the ease and usefulness of a credit card, but don't forget that good old standby cash. A word of warning, however, if you do consolidate your debts, make sure you are not turning short-term debt into long-term debt. The idea is strictly to pay off debt quickly. Don't forget that. Good old standby cash. If you do decide to consolidate your debts, here are some useful tips. I have a friend who wrote to all his creditors and offered them an immediate payment of 50% if they would write the debt off. This included all his credit card people. Surprisingly, every single one of them said yes, and he took out a bank loan and paid them all off without having to declare himself bankrupt. He thus consolidated his debt and reduced them by half. Brilliant. Never ever respond to any adverts from companies offering to consolidate your debt for you, and those ads are for people with more money than sense. Shop around for any pay-off loans. Don't accept your bank just because it is your bank. They may not be the cheapest by a long way. Don't secure anything against your home ever under any circumstances. If you do, you could lose your home if you don't keep up repayment. Is anything worth the stress? I don't think so. Check the small print regarding early settlement and make sure you are not going to be penalized if you settle early. Only ever take out one loan to consolidate, and only do this much. Learn your lesson and move on. Pay off as quickly as you can afford. The longer the term, the more you will have to pay the interest. If you must borrow against an asset you can resell, machine, tool, delivery, fund, and try not to borrow more than the resale value. Yeah. Rule number 43. Cultivate a skill and it will repay you over and over again. There is a saying that he who pays the piper calls in the tune, and that's true. But the piper can decide how much he will charge for playing that tune and what he plays is in demand, rare, particularly difficult, or in some way unique to play. Get yourself a decent instrument, a decent set of tunes, an usual or quick PR approach, a USB, unique selling proposition. Create a name for yourself, and the world will beat a path to your door and pay you handsomely. Once you can do something no one else can do, or as a few people as is possible, you can pretty well name your price. And believe me, it does not have to be a particularly difficult skill, just one that somebody else wants and will pay for it. Remember the guy who polishes the very best cars at a premium price? You could train to be a brain surgeon, neurosurgeon as they are properly titled, but it takes over tenure and aptitude and dedication and steady hands. So put that aside. Think about what you have got to offer. What are your skills, your talent, your strengths and weaknesses? Who need those skills and how could you put them to best use? How do you tell the people who need these skills that you have them? What skill might you be able to master in order to meet the need that's out there waiting to be met? Once you can do something no one else can do, or as few people as is possible, you can pretty well name your price. For this exercise, you are not allowed to say, don't know, not sure, nothing really, not at all. What do you mean? Talent, skills, me? Come on, we all have something we can do or could do that is special to us, that we feel we could make a fortune from it. If only someone would give us a break. We all have a dream we could follow, a plan we dare carry out. Perhaps we all need a shove, a push in the right direction, a wake-up call to get up off our backside and actually do something. And well, this is it. Wake up. Get on it with it. No one gives you a break. You create breaks and you go out and there are wrestle breaks to go to the ground and beat them into submission. You lure them out of their caves with a sword and a stick, and you track them down and hunt them with an opportunity gun. You stay in their face until they give in, but no one gives them away. Rule number 44, pay off your loans and debts as a priority. Do you clear your credit card balance every month? If you do, and you don't have any other outstanding loans or debts, then well, don't you? You are not wasting money paying interest and you are already in a strong position to go forward. Stick keep the rest of this rule and carry on. If you do have a credit card balance, an overdraft or other loans or debt, then you certainly are not alone. We live in a have it now pay later society. Trouble is debt bogs us down and hold us back. We are simply throwing money away, paying off the interest. And debt is a millstone around your neck. It makes you feel bad. It's always there nagging away at the back of your mind, and it can easily become a major problem that affects your health as well as your wealth. There is no doubt about it. The very first thing you need to do on your wealth quest is to get loans or debt paid off as soon as possible and do nothing else until that's done. There is no point at all starting to put money into a saving account earning say 5% interest if you are at the same time paying 10% interest on money you owe to the bank or somebody else. It doesn't make any sense. The simple truth is that those who borrow almost always pay a higher rate of interest than the rate received by those who save. I acknowledge that you may in fact have found a special situation where you can borrow money at a very low rate of interest and believe you can invest that money for a bigger return, but I say you're very, very careful indeed. You are playing with the fire here, and unless the investment is absolutely risk-free, pay the debt or loan off as fast as you possibly can. I should stress here that there are a few possible special exceptions to this rule. For example, if you have borrowed to invest in, say, a business and you really know what you are doing, we are really talking mainly about a personal debt in this rule. I'm not playing down how difficult it is to become debt-free, but it has to be done. Make a plan as to how you are going to get rid of your debt and start by paying off the highest interest. Debt first if you have more than one. Motivation is so vital as it is short-term pain for long-term gain. And of course, once you finally make it to debt-free, you are never going there again. Are you? Of course you're not. You are the rules players now. Rule number 45. Don't be too busy earning a living to make us some money. It's easily done. You needed a job because we all do, in order to live. Then you get into working for a living, and it takes up such a huge amount of your time and energy that there is none left over to spend thinking about what you could be doing differently, extra or smarter in order to make more money. How many of us are guilty of letting our financial affairs slide because, quite frankly, we feel there are better things to do with our precious freedom than get to grips with our finances or plan a long overdue life or career change? Sometimes we are so busy doing our jobs, we forget the end goal, making some real money. Well, to become wealthy, you absolutely have to remember to lift your head above the parapet of your 9 to 5 and give yourself a chance to think about the bigger picture and take action. Lots and lots of people work to life, and without them the rich couldn't get richer. And this does not mean the workers are being exploited or used. Just that if people choose to be drudges and invest all their time and energy in working for wages, then there will always be other people who will be quick to see an opportunity and becomes prosperous simply because they had their heads up and could see further. If you do work for a living and don't confidently expect that job to make you rich, then you must be doing for it for love, must not you? No, this is not a trick question. It is about prioritizing our ambition. If we go to work solely for money, it makes sense to earn as much as we can, as we want. If you love what you do, then if the money does not come with it, you need to create a strategy for wealth creation that does not rely on the day job income. It's great that you love what you do, but if you also want wealth, you need to make sure you are not so busy doing it then that you forget to work out how you are going to get wealthy doing it, or what other action or strategies you need to create a second income or alternative revenue generator. If you are unhappy with your pay or hate your job, then you have to question why you are still doing it and what else you could do. The worst possible scenario is that you don't feel fulfilled or rewarded in your job, but you are so busy doing it that you don't have a time to create a plan that will bring you greater prosperity and happiness. While you have got your head down, earning a living, a million, and when opportunities to become prosperous have just passed over your head and you didn't see them, imagine waking up in 10 years' time and realizing that's what you would done. If this is your situation, then do something now. Change your perspective and seize the day. If we go to work solely for money, it makes sense to earn as much as we can. Rule number 46. Save in big chunks, or should you? I always thought that if I could get my hands on a big chunk, I would put lots of it away, and that would be a brilliant way of saving. I have a friend who says that is a nonsense and that the drip by drip effect is the best way to save. Who is the right and who is wrong? Obviously, I must be right. It's my book after all. Let us consider it a bit more logically. Suppose I save a big chunk. Let's say I get 20,000 pounds sterling for some work I do or something I sell. I spend half and save half, and I do this when I am 50. How much do I have at retirement? My friend saves as miserly 10 pounds sterling a month. Small potatoes, I say. But he does that early, at 20, and never misses a man who is going to retire big time and who is going to be reusing tea bag. Come on, you can work this stuff out in your head, can't you? No, okay, there is a chart opposite. See, I told you I was right, but not by much. Hope you have learned a valuable lesson here. It's good to be prudent and save regularly, but in the long run, a big chunk saved later in life will bring home the bacon just as easily. Rule number 47. Do not rent, buy. We all need somewhere to live. We therefore have the choice as to whether to rent the roof over our heads or buy it. Most of us can't afford to buy outright, so in order to buy we need to borrow a lump sum of money to buy with. But hang on, haven't we said that borrowing is bad, and we shouldn't do it? Haven't we said that this way madness lies because you pay so much interest on what you borrow and so on? Indeed, we have. So how can you own and not borrow, but buy and not have a mortgage? The answer is that a mortgage can actually be viewed as an investment rather than a borrowing. If you buy a property with a mortgage, you make a A monthly investment, the fact you pay that the mortgage company we can close over. You see, in the longer term, you can reasonably expect that the interest you pay on your mortgage will be less than the increase in the value of your property. What you are banking on is that the value of your home will, in the longer term, go up, and therefore you have invested whatever deposit you put down in your mortgage money. So, how can you own and not borrow, buy and not have a mortgage? Renting, on the other hand, is not an investment. You will never see the money again. Of that, there is no doubt. With a mortgage, you stand a good chance in the long term of seeing your mortgage payment lead to an increase in the value of your house. When you sell, you get that increase in value. Bear in mind, however, that buying property is a long-term investment, and you may not gain in the short term. If property prices plummet, you will struggle to turn any of your asset into cash. Some experts advise that your house should represent only half of your total assets. That you might seem optimistic to some of us, but it's a good target to aim for. And there are those who believe that buying your home instead of renting brings with it a huge stresses and means you have less fun. And the lesson is to think carefully about how much your mortgage repayment will be and whether you are able and willing to pay them. Ideally, buy cheap and sell for it a lot more. You then have a choice. You can invest the profit in the next property without borrowing anymore, and in doing so, you decrease the mortgage each time. Eventually, you own outright without mortgage payment, and you have somewhere to live and don't have to pay for it at all anymore. Alternatively, you can do what most people do and buy a bigger, better, more expensive house. This is not a wealth creation strategy, but it can be what you wanted for your health, your work. It can be what you wanted your wealth for, which makes it fine by me. Rule number 48. Understand what investing really means. Many investments have a twofold purpose. They generate income and they increase in value. In other words, if you invest a lump sum, this is known as a capital, you get regular small payment of some kind and the actual value of the capital itself increases. The lump sum gets bigger. Let's suppose you invest in property. In an ideal world, you should be able to rent it out, this providing the regular small payment in the form of rental income, and the value of the property should go up also, so your capital increases in value over time. Likewise, shares should pay you out dividends, generate income, and should be worth more than you bought them for when you come to sell sometime later. Increase in value. You get the idea, and notice I should rather than will. Nothing is certain in this game. You can, of course, invest pretty well in anything you want. Company shares, your brother's hair, brain, buy an old boat and do it up and sell it for a fortune scheme. Fine wines, painting, Kruger and classic cars, rare books, Georgian glass, pension fund, and such alike, including saving and deposit account, invention and new product development ideas and people, theater shows, film, TV program development, sponsorship such as car, football team, and etc. Remember that investment of any sort are a form of gambling, no matter which way you look at it, and that you can lose. Ask Leots if you don't believe me. On the other hand, investing in a broad range of low-risk investment can still net return worth having. Remember that investment of any sort are a form of gambling, no matter which way you look at it. Rule number 49. Build a bit of capital, then invest it wisely. Lots of people don't get prosperous because, as we saw earlier, they are too lazy. But a lot fail because they don't know what to do once they start to earn some money. It's easy to think, once you have got your hands on a bit, that you have earned it, you deserve it, you have earned it, assuming you haven't robbed anyone to get it, and yes, you probably do deserve it, but no, don't spend it all now. No matter how much you want that new car, holiday, cottage by the sea, whatever. I have done it. I guess we all have, and once I got a massive tax debit, I don't remember why I was being taxed so highly, but I was for several years, and when they repaid me It was quite a handsome sum, and of course I blew it on a splendid holiday, but that's the difference between the rich and the not so well off. The rich see a sudden windfall like that as an opportunity to make some more money out of it, and the not so well off remain not so well off as they see it as an opportunity to have some fun, and nothing wrong with that if that's what you want in life, instant pleasure. But if you want a greater wealth and pleasure, then you must learn as I did that once you get your hands on a lump sum or build some up, you must immediately put it to good use, and frankly the good only use is as a starter kit for prosperity, and it is not lost. Merely put to one side to work for you, and once it has grown and attracted lots more lovely money, you can have all the holidays you want, but you have to wait and you have to use that starter kit well and wisely. See it as a loader. This is a term guides who receive tips used for starting the thief collection off, and you have to put the loader in the plate or no one else will trip. Buskers do the same thing. Put a coin or two into the hat to get the crowd going. No one will put anything into an empty hat. What you are going to do is load your prosperity hat. Ah, but I hear you say, I'm never going to get my hands on a lump sum. Not true, you get your hands on a lump sum every week of your life in the form of wages. I'm assuming you do have a job here. You choose what you spend on that money on: mortgage, food, car, entertainment, and etc. But if you want a way out of that particular lifestyle and into another, you have to be proactive about it. And the way you start it is to put something aside each week to build up that lump sum. Once you have something built up, think about where that money is going to generate you more money and get it invested. Ideally, you need to turn that money into an asset that will generate more revenue for you, be it shares, a property you can rent out, or something else. And what happens slowly over a period of time when you turn surplus cash into something that will work for you. No one will put anything into an empty hat. Rule number 50. Understand that property in the long run will not outpace shares. So you have built up a bit of money and to invest. Where to put it? Property and shares are two popular choices, but which to choose? In the aftermath of the dot-com crash of 2000, when shares prices started to plummet, many people in the UK turned from investing in shares to investing in property. It's not surprising, really. Many people who invested heavily in shares in the late 1990s saw the value of many of those shares drop so much it really hurt, and some companies folded completely, meaning investors lost all their money. With people turning in huge numbers from share to property, the buy-to-let market boomed with the greater demand from investor buyers. House prices rose. Eventually, we reached a point where in some areas there was a glut of property available to rent, and income from rental properties failed to match expectation. However, those early into the buy-to-let boom who bought in the right areas did well. In the years since 2000, however, share prices have recovered, and those who could hold on to their shares on the whole have seen their value climb again. So what's the right thing to do? Property or shares? Well, short-term blips notwithstanding, in the long run, shares will outperform property. And don't get me wrong, there's always a place for property. It's about getting yourself a good spread of investment, a portfolio as the professionals like to call it. And a decent investment portfolio is going to include property as a matter of course. One big advantage of investing in property is that you can live in it. You can live in it. Alternatively, if you are buying to let, you will get income from the rental of the property, and with shares you hope to get regular income in the form of dividends paid to shareholders, but the greatest return usually comes from a long-term increase in share prices. And quite simply, as the companies have greater potential for growth than property, the longer-term richer should she shares giving you a greater return. I stress potential here as it does not always get realized. The value of your shares or your property can go down as well as up, and there is always risk. And the other reason to prefer share to property alone is that shares, especially nice well-balanced portfolio, will give you a decent risk spread. The more variety, the less the risk. Did you know that in a slum baked bean sales go up? And it is an investment portfolio is going to include property as a matter of course. Rule number 51, master the art of selling. Just as a deal making is a vital skill, so is selling, and they are not always the same thing. You sell stuff outside of deals. Indeed, one of the most important things you have to be able to sell in life to increase your prosperity is yourself. Selling is the bedrock upon which every fortune is built. Whatever you do to make yourself prosperous will involve selling, and selling your skill, selling things, selling ideas. You can't make money without selling. Selling is where it's at. Every rich person knows this simple fact, and every poor person does not. In an ideal world, you should aim to sell yourself and your ability, skills, and attributes every minute of every day. Something while you are asleep in countries you have not only never been to but have never heard of via other people, so someone else is selling for you things that are incredibly cheap to produce and give you really healthy return, things other people make in finance for you, things that have a 99% penetration into every household, and things that store, transport, and stock easily. The list is probably endless, but where people go wrong is when they try to sell things that no one really wants, unless of course you are Damien Hirst and you make a pickle shark and know there is a market I never thought of. And I don't go thinking selling is for sales reps in shiny suits with a nice line in pattern. Every time Richard Branson appears on television busy with a hot air balloon, he is selling his entire brand. Clever man, clever selling. I like the young chap Alex too, who started at university in 2005. He wanted to become a millionaire and realized that if he had a million things, he could sell them all for $1 and achieve his goal. And he realized a web page has 1 million pixels. He then set about selling each one for $1 to advertiser. You need a block of around 400 to be seen. But he sold half of by Christmas and the rest within his first year at uni. Head down? I don't think so. You can see the result at the www.milliondollarhomepage.com. And yes, I supported his venture and paid him $400 for advertising my business, as I figured such an enterprising young man needed the monetary round of applause for genuine cleverness and innovation. Selling is the bedrock upon which every fortune is built. Rule 52. See yourself as others do. If your plan toward wealth means you are going to sell anything, your time, your products, your services, or anything else, you need to be the kind of person people want to buy from. If you want to be seriously wealthy, you will need to think about yourself and how you come across very hard and very honestly. You will need to know how other people see you, and if necessary, adapt your image to suit your line of business. Would you buy a pension from someone wearing torn jeans, a hoodie and flip-flops and chewing gum? No, indeed. Would you sign up for surf lessons from someone in the three-piece suite and a chum over? Of course not, but swap this two round. Now we are talking. And it's not just about the way you dress, of course. It's about your personality, your manner, your attitude, your punctuality, your integrity, your communication skills, your level of organization, the car you drive, whether you hold your meeting over breakfast or with a drink down the pub, how open and honest you are, whether your paperwork is efficient, scary, or non-existent, how fast you return phone calls, whether you market yourself aggressively or subtly, whether you are arrogant or self-effacing, what you promise and whether you make people laugh, and more. Every aspect of your brand should be conscious and considered. Don't leave it to change. Ask friends who you trust to be honest, to tell you how you come across, and listen to feedback from colleagues and work contact too, and whether it's direct or implied. They may not be totally honest, of course. Get ready to read between the lines. And whatever you do You must be sincere too, because that will show. And no, it's not difficult because you shouldn't be constructing an entirely artificial personality. You are just making sure that you have got the right skills. Easy talk to, good with numbers or whatever. And then you make sure you show the bits of your own genuine personality that people want to see. If you are having trouble with this, what on earth are you doing in the job? I have very dear friends, a couple who are among the funniest people I know. They amuse me endlessly with their sharp wit and slightly subversive humor. Even I spend with them are always hilarious. Their job? They are funeral directors. When they are at work, they hide their sense of humor unless their client clearly appreciate it. But another aspect of their personality shines through their caring, thoughtful, compassionate side, and that's just an honest and genuine part of them. It simply is not the whole story. Make sure you show the bits of your own personality that people want to see. Rule number 53, don't believe you can always win. There is a whole list of things and people you can't beat, so it might be the best to be cautious around them. They include the bookies and anyone else trying to take money off you for gambling, casino owner, card sharps, race courses, online gambling website, and etc. The tax authorities, beat cameras, the government, your mother, planning authorities, the police, your kids, and death. Dan Brown, the author of the Da Vinci Code, was sued by the author of another book, Holy Blood, Holy Grail, as they believed he had plagiarized their work. They lost. They lost a big time. They lost somewhere in the region of 1.75 million pounds sterling, including costs, and they probably believe quite sincerely in the merit of their case. But did anybody tell them they were unlikely to win? It would be fascinating to know whether anybody advised them not to persist, as they would probably lose. The reason to be very cautious in your dealing with the bookies, barristers, accountants, and such alike is that they have knowledge you don't. They are holders of secrets that can enable them, if they so choose, to make money out of you purely because of your ignorance. And don't go getting all moralistic on me and trying to change the system. They are a fact of life. Live with them. Live with them, yeah. Work with them. You won't get rid of them. You can't beat the bookies or the odds, so don't go trying or attempting to get rid of them on the grounds that they are making money out of the poor, innocent, and gullible public. Trouble is the poor, innocent, gullible public walk in there with their wallets open, crying, "Help yourself," and then complain they are broke. No one gives them a change. Life is not fair. No one likes me. It's not my fault. There ought to be a law against it, and etc. Remember that there are sharks out there, so don't bleed. Remember that there are sharks out there, so don't bleed. Rules number 54. Do not pick stocks yourself if you don't know what you are doing. The rule after this one is about investing in stock market. But before you go there, I should just point out that the next rule might not apply to you at all. You might be better off skipping it altogether. If you don't really truly know what you are doing, you shouldn't be playing the stock market. Basically, this rule is about whether or not you should read the next rule. It's all very well saying that no one should invest in the stock market unless they know what they are doing. How on earth can you do it for the first time then? It's not like having a baby or skydiving. You just have to learn as you do it well. And yes and no. You see, there are people who know what they are doing, and I guess they were not born knowing what to do. So it must be possible to learn before doing so. You are as prepared as possible. So you want to learn about stock and shares, but how are you going to do it without getting your fingers burned? It's actually very easy, of course. You can do all the usual things like read the financial pages, talk to people who know more about it than you, ask advice, watch relevant TV programs, buy books on the subject. Go ahead. You will find all these things invaluable, but even so, how can you be completely certain you have really understood everything you have read and heard and learned? Dummy runs. That's how. Decide exactly where you are going to put your money, and then don't do it. Watch the market. See what happened to your imaginary investment. Track their progress. Decide when to sell, and then see what happens to the price. Write all this down. It's far too easy to tell yourself you predicted something when actually you merely noted the possibility of it happening but were not sure if it would, and note down what you buy and when you sell and what you predict and how much money your initial imaginary investment would have gained or lost you. Do this a lot. Not just on one dummy run, but plenty. Follow lots of companies and keep doing it for months or years. Calculate your hit rate, your losses, your accuracy, and then when your notes can prove on paper that you really do know what you are doing, that's when you can start investing for real. And even so, keep it small to begin with. It's not the same when you are playing with the real money and you may unconsciously modify your strategies. So carry on keeping those notes and record, and don't let yourself get carried away. Decide exactly where you are going to put your money and then do it. Rule number 55: understand how the stock market really works. It's simple. People buy, sell, trade investment called stock that they have made in companies. So how does it all work? And more importantly, what works? The easy answer to the last questions is buy low, sell high. But don't you just know that there is more to it than that? The questions of deciding what to buy, how much to pay for it, and when to buy and then sell has been the subject of the entire libraries of books, and most of them bigger than this one, and so I will limit my contribution to a few choice rules. The first of these is to understand the real forces at play: value and speculation. Personally, I think economists were put on this earth to make astrologers look good, but I'm not averse to quoting them. And one of them is quotable. John Maynard Keynes once said that the stock market is just like the beauty contest. And now, when he said that, he didn't mean the stock brokers should abandon their suits for swimwear and profess a desire for working with children or world peace. He was referring to a type of British beauty contest that used to be run by a London newspaper, in which reader could win a prize by picking the beauty whose photograph was deemed to be the most beautiful by the greatest number of the other readers. This meant that winning was not about picking the prettiest, nor even about predicting which the average reader would think of the prettiest, but instead, winning became a game of anticipating what the average reader would expect the average choice to be. And this belief, Keynes, was how the stock market worked. Investors tried to make money by buying stock, and they think other investors will want to buy in the future, and the price that they are prepared to pay for a stock depend less on the fundamental value of the company than on their expectation of what everybody else will be willing to pay for it. That's the essence of speculation in the stock market, and that's why the fundamental value of the stock and its price on any given day can be so different. Speculating on stock market movements is a great fun if you want to observe mass psychology in action, but in an uncertain world, it's not the road to wealth, and it's a riskier than you realize unless you really know what you're doing. So don't start playing the game until you are sure you understand the rules. But if you really want to accumulate wealth in the stock market, and then here is my advice. Get rich slowly but surely with a value. Ignore all the noise, the clamor about what this piece of news or that piece of gossip means for a price. Stay away from the proven technique for predicting what price will do tomorrow based on what they did yesterday. Technical analysis. Don't be fooled by the rational sounding label. It's irrational. And resist, please resist the temptation to dive in and out of stock chasing a quick buck. If you are going to invest in shares, look for value. Look for companies whose share price does not reflect their worth, and look for companies that make or do something that people will find more valuable in the future. And look for companies whose value is appreciated by the investment fund. Once you have found them, buy them, analyze the fundamentals, change, buy them for the long run, wait for their value to appreciate, and watch as your wealth accumulates. So, to buy the right stock at the right price, of course, don't follow the crowd. Find the value. Easier said than done, but you might say, and you would be right. It can take a lot of research, but you can make it easier if you follow the next rule. Rule number 56: only buy shares or anything you can understand. This is another rule to engrave on your heart. Buying shares or anything else to sell on in order to make money is just another form of gambling. When I worked as a casino manager, it was well recognized that there was a hierarchy of casinos. At the bottom were the ones with a slot machine and noisy brass atmosphere. At the top were the gentleman club where it was all smoke glass and diffuse light tint. Gamblers, of course, recognized the hierarchy and felt that the latter were somehow cleaner. Similarly, most people view the stock market as, in some way, more refined, sophisticated, and thus free of risks or odds or danger, but it is all gambling. Nothing is certain. If you are going to gamble on shares or anything else you want to buy and sell, then reduce the odds as much as possible and only invest in or buy things you won't know and understand. By doing this, you eliminate a lot of the mistake which can lead you to stake more than you intend. Take risks you wouldn't normally or be bamboozled by a sleek marketing spiel. If you shop at Marks and Spencer and you see that the new product range are good and that the stores are full and you hear people raving about how M&S has improved this year, then buy M&S shares. If you keep studying the store and listening to people shopping, you will quickly notice if it continues to be a good investment. Just be careful you are aware whether you are buying with your head or heart. I have a friend who only invests in green companies. He's one about with an air of moral superiority. He believes he has bought a ticket to heaven by doing this. He is a gambler. He does not realize this. Is he buying with his head or as well as his heart? If you find investment in something you love, be clear if you are buying as an investment on business principle or simply because you want to. If your reason of market analysis say that wind farms are the future and will be a growing industry with a big return, then fantastic, you can invest with a head and heart. You don't really understand a particular sector of business and don't intend to put the work in to get to know it well, then you will almost certainly be better off investing in something else. If you want to invest in shares but don't want to do all the homework and make all the decisions yourself, then you cannot use an investment fund. Reduce the odds as much as possible and only invest in or buy things you understand. Rule number 57. Use your head. The reason you are reading this book is because, or maybe listening to this audiobook, because you want to become wealthy, right? All the financial decisions you make will be geared toward generating as much money as possible. Each step along the way is just that. One more step on your wealth ladder. So don't allow yourself to get distracted into making decisions on any other basis than their financial merit. Make sure your head rules your heart. That's probably not difficult if you're picking shares to invest in, but it can be hard when you are buying property, for example, or if you want to buy and sell old cars or antiques or anything you have a personal affection for. I'm not saying you can buy things you like. You have to decide how much of your wealth you want to enjoy and how much you will save for later. But where a transaction is intended as investment, when your primary purpose is to make money, don't allow yourself to be swayed by personal taste. If that beautiful old series one Land Rover needs more work before you can sell it on that newer Defender, and will fetch no more money at the end of it, then buy the Defender. It's tough, I know, but it has to be done. Do not make the decision on any other basis than their financial merit. Similarly, if you are buying an investment property such as a buy-to-let, don't choose a house just because it is an area you would like to live in. You are not the one who will be living there, so you need to base your decision on hard financial factor, not your own preference. Which property will give you the best return after cost, and that's all you need to know. Look, I'm not telling you what you should or and shouldn't do on a personal level. I'm just explaining how to get wealthy. That's what you asked me. And in fact, when you bought this book, and that's what I'm telling you, the people who get wealthiest are the people who buy with their heads and not their hearts. So you do what you will like, but don't say I didn't tell you. Rule number 58. By all means, use the investment professionals, but don't be used by them. As you have probably guessed from Rule 55, most of those who pick their own stock like to think that they can see the value where others can't. Of course, we don't like to look too often to see if our track record backs that up, and I'm sure Many of the roles player has made dumb investment decisions. If you don't trust yourself to make clever decision every time, or perhaps simply want to save the occasional investment decision for yourself and let someone who knows more than you do take care of the rest, then it's okay to use the professionals, but make sure you use them wisely. And now pay attention to this bit. It's really important. First, professional will tell you that they can take your money, invest it actively, and beat the market, that they do beat the market and that they will beat the market. They may even have some colorful chart to show you how they beat the market every year, apart from last year, of course. Design here. Sit back and you will soon be worth more than Warren Buffett on a hot streak. Sounds too good to be true. Yep, it's wishful thinking without logic in equal measures. To put it simply, for somebody to be doing better than average, somebody else must be doing worse. And since the big firms invest most of the money in the market, who are they beating? Themselves? Right. And here is the ugly little truth about the investment industry. In any given year, some will come out ahead and some will lose. But over the long term of the market beats most of the time, and oh, I'm sure many of them try hard, they really do, but in the end nearly all of them fail to grow money any faster than the market. So don't pay them for trying. Ask yourself this: if, like most people, you read the brochure, listen to the advisor who is on commission, and buy into a fund aiming to beat the market, what's the one thing that you can be sure will be higher than average? The returns or the fees? You know the answer to that one, don't you? If you want to have to put your money in the market without putting much of it into someone else's pocket, keep it simple. If you don't have time to or know how to carefully reach out the best active fund, then follow the rule that less is more, and usually comes cheaper. Put your trust in funds that don't charge you big fees for taking big risks with a succession of clever strategy to beat the house. Big index fund and tracker fund, big funds managed by people who will invest your money with the minimum fuss and minimum fees in a good range of stock that replicate the market, and they then go to lunch. Then you can sleep at night, safe in the knowledge that your money is in the market quietly working away on your behalf. In the end, most of them fail to grow money any faster than the market, so don't pay them for trying. Rule number 59. If you are going to get financial advice, pay for it. Boy, are there a lot of people out there waiting and wanting to give you financial help, advice, information, tips, guidance? Great. Learn early on to be very carefully who you take advice from it if you want to hang on to your wealth. There are two groups of people to whom you may turn in the event of needing said advice, help, guidance, whatever. First, there are skilled professionals who carry indemnity insurance, so you can sue them and expect to get the payout in the unlikely even in the information they give you is erroneous, wrong, or dangerously bad. If they stand by their advice, you should make sure provision is there so that you get paid if it is wrong, and that keeps them on their toes. Those people you pay and their fee entitles them to talk to you about your money. And second, there are very rich people, listen to them unless they won their money on the lottery, inherited it, rob a bank to get it, or bought a load of drugs in Marrakech and sold them in the local nightclub. And those are the only two categories open to you. The ones close to you include friends and families, well-meaning acquaintances, even if they do have a quid or two of their own TV programs, the internet, and high street bank. You must make sure any financial advice comes from someone who carries a recognizable qualification of membership of suitable organization that include the very rich club. Make sure you know that they know what they are doing. And the textile millionaire Joy Hyman used to say that in order of honesty, there are three types of bank: were high street bank, bank, and merchant banks. There are two types of advisor in my experience. A. Those who stop you making an ass of yourself. B. Those who tell you you have made an ass on yourself after you have done it. You want to category A. You will get lots and lots in category B. When it comes to professional financial advisor, there are another two categories. A. Those who deal with your finances, and B. Those who try to sell you product. Avoid B, like the plug. Any financial advisor you use should be independent. They should not be restricted to providing advice from a limited range of products offered by the company they work for. It's the difference between buying a switch off the pack, a best switch, or buying something tailor-made to fit your requirement precisely. Make sure any financial advice comes from someone who carries membership of a suitable organization. That includes the very, very rich club. Rule number 60. Don't fiddle. Once you have worked out a strategy, leave it alone. There is no point fiddling. You are unlikely to make it any better and you might make it worse. Not only that, but you could incur lots of extra charges or penalties if you start changing things after a short time. You have to know when to leave things alone. It's like the proverb, look before you leap. Look long and hard, then make your plan and take your decision, then leave it alone and don't mess with it. Looking is weighing up the odds, seeking advice, considering the pros and cons. Leaving is acting on all the information, but once you have decided to leave, get on with it. Once you have formulated your plan, your objective, your strategy, your goals and target, ambition and destination, then be committed. It is so easy to get scared or panicky. We all fear unemployment, poverty, financial traps, falling behind, falling below, falling in debt. I have been there. Paralyzed by fear into staying in a job for years because I didn't believe I could survive outside it. Once I stepped outside, I survived just fine. We always do. Plants and small fish require the same amount of cooking, and once they are in the pan, leave them alone or they will fall apart. Don't keep stirring or they will disintegrate. Don't keep fiddling, tinkering, changing your mind and changing it back again. If you do keep on fiddling, you may end up achieving very little, and worse skill you will have frittered and wasted money on early rhythm charts and the like. Many investment are long-term and fiddling means paying more or not reaping the full benefits. Sure, you should keep your eye on things and on the market generally, but stick with your strategy and having done your homework, leave as well alone as possible. Don't panic and don't fiddle. Once you have decided to leave, get on with it. Rule number 61. Think long term. At the same time as not fiddling too much, so too you shouldn't play the short game. You have to think long term, but in your planning and in your expectation of return, you also have to invest for the longer term. If you expect a rapid and sudden catapult into prosperity, then go play the lottery and good luck to you. You will need it. Gaining wealth is a slow process and rightly so. If you get it all quickly, you have no time to acquire experience and sense too quickly, and it will be all spend, and spend. Thinking long term is a bit like thinking in a very fast motion while the rest of the world moves incredibly slowly around you. Softly, softly catchy monkey, as they say. Ever tried to sweat a fly? A fly's eyes are different from ours and they basically see in the fast forward. By the time you raise your hand, they have already predicted the movement and flown away. You have to develop the same ability, you have to see what's happening before it happens, and the only way to do that is to think long term. Think of gaining prosperity as stalking a reluctant tiger. It will be wary and cautious, and you have to stalk it skillfully, quietly, almost lovingly. It's no use running up and shouting at it. It will either turn round and kill you or run off. Better to take your time and creep up slowly and quietly. Any sudden movement will startle the canny beasts. In the rules of work, I talk about having various planning for short term, medium term and long term. The same is true for investment. You need short term investment for money you might need access to in the near future, medium terms ones that you expect to deliver return in the 5 or 10 years, say, and then you need a long term investment that will reap greater reward but that deliver in the more distant future. I know. In the Rule 38, I said that to be decisive and act quickly, and that is still true, but only after you have taken a long-term view, only after you have weighed and considered and pondered and evaluated. The samurai only makes one cut, but that cut was an entire lifetime in the making. Where are you going to be in 5 years' time? Prosperity wise, 10, 15, 20, longer? Think of gaining prosperity as stalking a reluctant tiger. Rule number 62, have a set time of a day to work on your wealth strategy. You have to have a life as well as gaining prosperity. It is my observation that happy, wealthy people's financial planning follows a similar set of 4 principles. 1. They set targets when then get on with it. Number 2, they don't think are too much. Number 3, they tend to work on their financial planning at the same time of the day. Number 4, they are able to take a break from their financial planning and have a life outside it, and it keeps them refreshed and interesting. The reason you need a set time of the day is twofold. Firstly, it makes sure you actively manage your wealth rather than looking at it once a year and thinking, oh dear. And conversely, it means you don't overdo it and spend all day tinkering, which, as we have said, is a bad idea. And secondly, it means you cannot take advantage of your natural biorhythm and put in the effort when you are at your brightest. If you are the morning person, you will want to get your planning in early. If you are more of an owl, then an evening slot will take advantage of your sharpest mental acuity. The other big advantage of having a set time of the day is that you can plan for it, work it into your diary, and make time for it. If you don't, it can get forgotten of, or the time is used for other things. If, for example, you always spend a half an hour on your plan first thing after breakfast, then it gets to be a regular function and one you feel oddly uncomfortable missing. Yes, even on holiday. Working on your prosperity plan at the same time of day and for the same shortest length of time means you can break things down into manageable chunks and not get overwhelmed. You can work for a bit and then take a break, put it behind you for the day and go back to it at the same time, of course, the next day. Bit by bit, things will improve. Believe me, I have been here before you. Bit by bit, things will improve. Rule number 63, pay attention to detail. This is my biggest failing, I'm afraid. My solution is easy. I employ someone to manage my life who takes care of the detail. Someone who is very, very good at the details. Yes, it's an expensive way to do it. Better to train yourself right from the word to go to pay attention to the detail yourself and save the expense. Detail is not keeping a note of every tiny purchase you make and looking at minute economy. We have already discovered and seen our rule number 35. Going without that cappuccino is not going to make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Detail is checking the small print, checking the interest rate, checking charges and fees, checking you pay for things on time so you don't incur penalties, checking when you will be paid and that you invest promptly to avoid your money lying idle. Not forgetting people, not forgetting dates and times and appointment, making lists and writing everything down, remembering to ask for information, remembering to ask questions in general, remembering to keep good record of all transactions, purchases, and sales. This is just muscles training. I take it you know all about muscle training. When you are in the training for any sport, if you repeat an action often enough, your muscle retain the memory of that action. The more you repeat the action, the easier it gets and the less effort you need to put it in. It's a bit like driving a car, tough at first, but it becomes automatic. Excuse me. After a while, I'm writing this in a French and I have been getting used to A. Driving on the right and B. Driving a left-hand drive car. I have had to concentrate hard and shot at the children because I can't think if they are beating 7 bells out of each other in the back seat. It's been a bit like a learning to drive all over again. Added to the fact that all the signs are in French and it's a steep learning curve, but it's getting easier and becoming routine. I don't have to think about it anymore and can take it in a pacing scenery and enjoy the journey. Train yourself right from the world. Go to pay attention to the detail yourself. Rule number 64. Create new income streams. When it comes to wealth creation strategies, investing wisely and managing your money actively are important. But nothing beats having more coming in the first place. Everybody benefits from some thought about where their income comes from and how they could create another source of revenue. It's a bit like being a busker and having several pitches. If one is proving unprofitable, you can pack it in and go somewhere else. But instead of packing it in, What you are going to do is duplicate yourself, a clone you if you like, and not only carry on the basking but also be basking in a new place at the same time. The more hats you have out, the more they are likely to return a profit. Look, don't take my word for this. Check it out yourself. Look at any prosperous person you admire and see if diversity is not their tool for unlocking greater prosperity. The rich usually have several money-making scams going for them, and this is especially important for anybody who loves their work, but it does not pay well. What you need is another income stream. There are a couple of ways of doing this, and the first is to turn surplus cash into asset that will work for you and bring in income even when you are not there. Rent from a buy-to-let property would be one example, or an annual dividend from shares you have bought. The other way to create new income streams is to find ways of using your skill and expertise in more than one setting. So you are not just wasting your labor for a paycheck in your day job. This does not mean baking in your day job necessarily. It might mean, for example, doing some freelance work either in the same area or a completely unrelated area where you also have skill and expertise. Maybe you have a hobby, which means you have other skills and expertise that could be used. Is there anything you could teach or consult on, or that you could set up as a business? When I say create new income streams, what I mean is create them for you. They can be old ones in the marketplace. Just make sure that you are maximizing all your skill to bring in income, and that you are actively investing in assets that will earn money for you without you having to be there. I do realize you can't physically clone yourself. The rich usually have several money-making scams going for them. Rule number 65, learn to play what if. When deciding how to earn your money and how to invest your money, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions, starting with what if. I will start you off here. What if there is another recession? What if this bank goes bust and I can't get my money out? What if this share suddenly take a turn for the worse? What if the gold price plummet? What if all my customers went elsewhere for a cheaper service or product? What if I was made redundant? What if property prices bottom out? What if the oils runs out? The what if game is one we can all play all together now. What if? I call it looking for loopholes. Only it is not loopholes, more a sort of gotcha clause. Every time I stop making some serious money, I figure someone somewhere is playing a gotcha clause whereby the unexpected happen and that particular income stream dries us up rapidly. Part of the fun of being prosperous is in spotting the gotcha clause long before it happens and getting your money out and into another investment. It's also vital to consider when you are thinking about where to find extra income from. That's where having lots of hats come in. A good example of the danger of putting all your eggs in one basket are the footballers who have been forced to retire while in their 20s. One minute they are earning millions and seemingly at the peak of their career, and then they shatter their ankle and their financial dreams too. They haven't trained for anything else because it never occurred to them that they might need another string to their bow. Diversification is the name of the game. By having more than one income stream, a nice broad spread of investment, whatever happens in the what if scenario, you will be in a much more secure position than if all your proverbial eggs are in the one basket. By asking what if, you are minimizing risk to your wealth and wealth creation. Diversification is the name of the game. Rule number 66, control spending impulses. The surest way to secure your wealth creation is to go out and spend everything you earn or receive, and this particular addiction is very strong in me. I blame it all on giving up smoking. I have nothing to do now with my hands, so fiddling with a credit card seems to satisfy some deeply buried addictive urge, but you have to resist if you are going to turn what little you have into the bigger something. Forget notions of new cars and holidays in the sun. You are going to turn into a bit of scroogey for a while and hanging on to what you have got in order to prepare for the future when you will have to so much more. This means you have to control your urge. Look, I'm going to let you into the secret. Prosperity is a race, a prize, a winning line. We all set out wanting to race towards it, claim it, and some cannot be bothered to even make it to the starting line because they are so weighed down with an unhelpful belief that floored them before the start. And a whole lot of people fall by the wayside from laziness early on, and many more fail to make the grade because they get daunted by the hard work needed. And still more at this point where you are at now. Stumbles because they give in to temptation and spend like there is no tomorrow. Well, there is a tomorrow, and it comes quickly enough. And that shiny new car now looks and sad and rusty, and the holiday's gone with only a few snap of people and place you can't even remember, and the new clothes are outgrown and unworn. The simple truth is the rich know how to control their spending urge. That's why they are rich, and when they need to tighten their belts, they can do it. And you need to do it too. Tighten your belt, that is. In fact, what you need to do is not loosen it. In the first place, we have talked about delay pleasure in earlier rules, and I hope you have absorbed that one by now. Curbing those spending urge is absolutely vital, and the best way to do it is to never buy anything instantly. If you see something you just have to have, wait a week, and do you still really need or want it? Chances are the urge will pass if you allow it to. Make it harder for yourself by putting time and distance between you and temptation. The rich know how to control their spending urge. That's why